Hey guys, welcome to our channel. I'm Sagara, a senior at Yale University studying computer science and engineering. Today, we are going to learn about RSA algorithm. In this video, we will talk about the introduction of RSA, steps of RSA algorithms, then we will solve a little example based on those steps. And then at last, we'll see the security factors of RSA, which will include how does attackers attack it and how to overcome it. Okay, it is enough introduction. Let us dive straight into the topic. What is RSA? RSA is an asymmetric key algorithms. So there are two types of key algorithms, symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric key algorithms will have only one key for encryption and decryption, whereas asymmetric key algorithm or public key algorithm will have two different types of keys, one for encryption, one for decryption. Being two different keys, one will be private and another will be public. RSA stands for Rivest, Shavir, and Adelman, which are simply the names of the people who gave this algorithms, which was first given in 1978. So if we take a user A and that user A is using a public key for encryption and a private key for decryption, so both of the users will be user A only. So there will be no alternative user which has access to both of the keys. So that is basically the general rule of RSA. RSA scheme is block cipher scheme. What is block cipher scheme? It means that plain text and cipher texts are integers, not strings, integers between 0 and n minus 1 for some n values. So let us now look at the steps of RSA algorithms. The steps are not that hard enough as the puppy looks, but let us see. There are These are the algorithms, the steps of the algorithms. First one is consider two large prime numbers, P and Q. These P and Q will be private to the user. I will tell you why we need to take large prime numbers later in the video. So second one is the product of P and Q, product of the prime numbers. So this n is public. This n will be available to everyone, but P and Q will only be available to the user. Now third one is to calculate Euler-Torschian function, phi of n, which we have a formula P minus 1 into Q minus 1. After these three steps, we'll calculate the keys, one for encryption, one for decryption. Let E be the key for the encryption, which will have two conditions. E should always be greater than 1 and GCD of E and phi of n should be 1. These two conditions, if E satisfies these two conditions, then we can take it as a key. Next point is assume D such that D into E mod phi of n is 1. This is the formula. The D should satisfy this condition to be the decryption key. After we find E and D, we'll next denote them. So how do we do that? Encryption key is a public key and decryption key is a private key. After finding these keys, we'll calculate the encrypted key. So M is the plain text which will be given directly in the question, and the condition is M should always be less than the product of the prime numbers, which is n. And to find the encrypted key, which is encrypted text, which is C, is equal to M to the power E mod n. This is the formula to calculate the encrypted data. After that, after getting the encrypted data, we can calculate the decrypted data by this formula. M is equal to C to the power D mod n. So after calculating this, if C and M both are same, this would mean that our RSA algorithm is a success. So I hope you understood this algorithm, but if you did not understand it that properly, I will explain this through an example. So example time. Okay, let us take a simple question where P and Q are the prime numbers already given in the question and m is equal to 4 is the message to be encrypted. Now we'll go one by one following the steps of the algorithm and we'll see. This p is equal to 3 and q is equal to 5 is the first step which we have seen in the algorithm. Now let us go by the second step. So according to the second step, we have n is equal to p into q. So now which becomes 3 into 5, which is 15. So we got the product, which is n is equal to 15. Now what was the third step? We have to calculate the Euler-Tochian function, which is phi of n is equal to p minus 1 into q minus 1, which is 2 into 4 is equal to 8. So now phi of n becomes 8. So we have finished 3 steps so far. Now what we have to do is see how the keys are generated, which are E and D. So the fourth step we'll see is key generation for encryption. We know that we have a condition E should be greater than 1. In this question, we are not taking E in the question itself. Some of the questions will have E in the question, but here we will solve by ourselves because we need to understand how the process is done. So the condition is E should be always greater than 1 and the GCD of E and phi of n should be equal to 1. So here GCD of E, 8 should be 1. So I hope all of you know how to solve the GCD. So I'll assume that you know, and by that we have to calculate E. So what are the numbers? Let's take a hit and trial method. So what are the numbers in if we put in the place of E, we'll get 1. So there can be many values for E that way. So E can be 3, E can be 5, E can be 7 and so on. Let us see how to calculate GCD in a simple method. Let us take GCD of 3 and 8. I hope you can see here. So the formula is we need to put the greatest number here, smaller number here, multiply by Q plus R. So after this, what we are doing, we need to calculate the value of Q. So we need to see with which number we multiply so that we get nearly 8 or 8. So 3 to the 6. So we can put Q is equal to 6, which will give us 8 is equal to 3 into 2 plus 2. Now what we'll do is we'll take this number, put it in place of 8, and we'll take the remainder and put it in the place of 3. Okay, so then what we are getting is 3 is equal to 2 into 1 plus 1. Okay, now for getting the remainder 0, what we have to do? 2 is equal to 1 into 2 plus 0. See, when we are getting the remainder 0, the previous number, the previous remainder would be the GCD. This is how we calculate GCD. Okay, so if the remainder is 0 and the previous number is 1, then that would be the GCD of 3 and 8. That way we are getting GCD of 3 and 8 1. In the same way, try calculating it with 5 and 7. You will get the GCD 1. So we need to take a hit and try. Like if you put 1, 8, then what is the GCD you are getting? That's how you will do. In this example, we are taking very small numbers so that it is very easy to solve. But actually, P and Q, the prime numbers, needs to be large. And I will explain to you in the video why they have to be large. So we got E is equal to 3, 5, 7. We can take any one of the number. Let us take 3 for easy calculation right now, so you guys can understand easily. Okay, let us take E is equal to 3. Okay, Now in the next step we have to calculate, in the fifth step we have to calculate the D, the second key. So how do we calculate? We have a formula we have seen in the algorithm, D into E mod phi of n is equal to 1. So this is the formula we have. Now we have calculated, as we have calculated the value of E, so what we have to do is D into 3 mod 8 is equal to 1. So you get it? So we have to calculate the value of D such that this formula satisfies us. So how? Again we have to take the hit and trial method. Let us take D is equal to 3. If we are taking D is equal to 3, then what we are getting here? If we are taking D is equal to 3, then 9 mod 8 will become 1. So it is satisfying this formula. So finally D is equal to 3 we have calculated. And then E is equal to 3 also we have calculated. The thing here is, we should not get these two values same. As you can see, we should not get E and D values same. But for this simple calculation I have shown you, but if we get these two are same, then there is no point, right? These two should be different. If we take E is equal to 7, then there will be a different value for D. So such that in such a way you have to take. So next step, let us see what is the next step. Let us first write down the public key which we have calculated by the encryption key. The public key would be E, n, which is 3, 15. The private key would be D, n, which is again 3, 15. These two should never be same. But as for the easy calculation, I have taken a small numbers, but these two should not be the same. Okay, so let us see, and I will tell you why what happens if these two would be the same in the later part of the video. Okay, so let us see the encryption part. We are given in the question that the message to be encrypted is 4 and it is less than n. We are satisfying the condition m less than n. So we have seen in the algorithm the formula is m to the power e mod n. This is the formula. So we have m as 4, e as 3 and mod as 15. So which becomes 64 mod 15. And this answer would be 4. Yeah, so we have calculated the encrypted data which is 4. Okay, the next what we have to do in the steps of the algorithm is decryption. In this decryption we have the formula m is equal to c to the power d mod n, right? So we have C value as 4 which we have calculated previously, and D value is 3 and then mod 15. 64 mod 15 which is 4. So we can see that the encryption data and the decryption data are coming same. So we have a successful RSA problem here. Okay, here therefore C is equal to M. We have a very successful data, which means after we are encrypting the data C is equal to 4, and when you decrypt this data we are getting the same value which was given in the question. So this is just verification that the process we have done is correct or not. This is how you solve an example of RSA. Sometimes E is directly given in the question, but sometimes you need to calculate as how we have calculated in this example. Now let us look at the security factors of RSA algorithms. We can consider 4 types of security factors being brute force attack, mathematical attack, timing attack, chosen ciphertext attack. Let us look at the first one, brute force attack. In this attack, all the possible keys are tested till the attacker finds the correct one. Which means if you have given in the question that P and Q are 3 and 5, which are simple prime numbers, 3 and 5. So the attacker can guess easily that if he takes the first choice as 3 and 5, and he can directly calculate the E value and he can decrypt the message. So that will be a great risk. So to overcome this, we need to make these values of keys as large as possible. If we are making as large as possible, then it will take a lot of time for the attacker to verify and find out which are the correct ones. And at some point, he'll be able to give up, and our system will be secure. Let us look at the second one, mathematical attack. In this attack, the attacker will find the factorization of n. N is the product of P and Q, which are private, but n is public. So the attacker will be having access to n. He will find the factorization of P and Q. Why is this happening? If we are keeping small values of P and Q, then the product will be also small. For example, if we are taking 3 and 5, then the result will be 15. So easily the factors of 15 is 3 and 5, and the attacker will directly identify it and will calculate the decrypted message or encrypted message, anything he wants. So to overcome this, again, what we have to do is make the values of P and Q as large as possible. So the n value will be large and the factorization of n will be as difficult. So the attacker cannot attack our systems. Now let us see the third one, timing attack. In this attack, the attacker will be sitting and sipping his coffee, and he'll calculate the decrypted process time. When the process of decryption is occurring, he can find out the number of digits from that decrypted process. So that is what an attacker can do. So what will happen if he finds the number of digits? For example, he found out that it's a 3-digit number. Then from 3-digit number is 100 to 999. How difficult for you is to find the prime numbers from these? Not as difficult, right? So the attacker will find the numbers easily and will be able to attack our systems in that easy manner. So to overcome this, we will use three methods. First one being constant exponentiation time, in which what we are doing is we are adding a delay time. It is a fixed delay time added to that process. What happens is the attacker will think that there is this amount of duration occurring, so he'll think that it is a 4-digit number. Then he'll become a fool, right? So that is how it works. Next one is random delay. It is same as the previous one, but the delay is random. Whenever the RST algorithm is run, the delay time will be varying, which means a random delay is added, unlike the first method. The last method is blinding. So what we'll do is we'll multiply a random number to the ciphertext. So after multiplying, the number of digits will increase, and the wrong information will be going to the attacker, and he will not get the correct value, and he will not be able to attack us. So that is how we overcome the timing attack. Next one and the last one is chosen cipher attack. What happens in this is the attacker will break into our system using the public key encryption. We know that encrypted keys are public and decrypted keys are private. So he'll enter to our system using this public key, and he can also gather the information about the decryptions, and he can gather the information about the ciphertexts. So to overcome this, we are doing two things. As usual, we have to make the key values as large as possible. Instead of taking e value 3, we could have taken 7 in our previous example, right? So we need to take big values to overcome this. And the second one is we need to review the decrypted value with the encrypted value and all the data and all the processes we are doing, so that we can understand this is the correct process and not a process done by the attacker. So that is how you overcome this one. So these are the four security factors, and we have come to an end of this presentation, and that's how it's done. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.